Welcome back to GMP Scenario, presented by PharmaContentLabs.com, where we break down common GMP mistakes, inspection risks, and the small control gaps that turn into big observations.
Today we're going to get into a story that kicks off with something that seems so small, a single timestamp, but it ends up uncovering a huge problem with data integrity. Let's jump right in.
Okay, so picture this. You're a reviewer in quality assurance. You're looking at a production record and everything looks perfect. Almost a little too perfect. So you ask the operator, hey, when did you actually fill this out? And this is what they tell you. I wrote them later. I remembered them. You know that one sentence? That is a massive, blinking red flag. And here's why. A quick look at the system's own electronic log shows the real work happened at 10:30 in the morning, but the handwritten paper record, the official document, it wasn't filled out until hours later, at 4 p.m. That huge gap, that mismatch, well, that's the heart of the entire problem.
So what do we call this? Is it just some operator taking a harmless little shortcut because they were swamped? Or are we looking at something much, much bigger, a major failure in how things are being run? Well, the answer is pretty clear. There's really no gray area here at all. This is, plain and simple, a data integrity failure. So let's unpack exactly what that means and why it's such a big deal.
To really get why this is so critical, we need to talk about the gold standard for data in this industry. It's a framework known as ALCOA+.
At its core, this whole thing is about data integrity. It's basically a promise that your records are exactly what they claim to be, accurate, complete, and that nobody's messed with them. I mean, think about it. If you can't trust your data, you can't trust your product. It's that simple.
So ALCOA+ gives us the rulebook. The first 5 letters are the absolute core. Is the data attributable? Can we tell who did what and when? Is it legible? Can you even read it? Is it contemporaneous? Was it recorded right when it happened? And boom, that's the one our operator completely failed. Is it the original record? And finally, is it accurate? And that little plus sign? It adds 4 more principles that are just as crucial. Your data also has to be complete, consistent across all the different places it's recorded, enduring so it lasts and available whenever someone needs to check it. Our operator's little shortcut? It managed to violate at least 3 of these principles all at once.
Okay, so we figured out what went wrong. But what are the actual stakes here? Why does a regulator, or for that matter, any business, get so worked up about this? It all boils down to a really simple and potentially very, very expensive piece of logic. If the record that documents how a product was made isn't trustworthy,
then the entire batch of product tied to that record can't be trusted either. You've lost your proof. You can't say for sure that things happened the way the record claims, and that puts the entire batch at risk of being thrown out.
And here's where it gets really scary: the ripple effect. See, when an inspector finds just one instance of this backfilling, writing stuff down from memory later, they don't just note it and move on. No way. They assume it's a pattern. And they immediately blow up the scope of their investigation, digging deep into all of your records. That one little shortcut can trigger a massive, painful audit.
But here's the good news. This is a totally preventable problem. There's actually a really clear 3-step fix you can use to build a system and a culture that stops these failures before they ever happen.
The whole solution comes down to 3 key things. First, you have got to clearly define what your raw data actually is. Second, you have to actively get rid of any opportunity for backfilling. And third, you need to make your review process way stronger.
So step 1 is all about getting crystal clear. Everybody in the organization needs to agree on the official source of truth. Where is the very first place that data gets recorded? Is it the log on the instrument itself? Is it a paper printout that spits out? Or is it an entry in a physical notebook? You have to nail this down for every single process, no exceptions.
Now for step 2, you've got to go after the root cause. If your operators are telling you they're too busy to record in the moment, that's not on them. That's a sign your workflow is broken and you need to fix it. You have to design your system so that recording data right at the point of use is the easiest thing to do. And finally, you have to beef up your review process. This means your QA team can't just be checking for neat handwriting. No, they need to be detectives. They should be actively cross-checking timestamps, comparing paper records to electronic logs, and making sure everything is 100% complete. And if they do find an issue, it gets documented with all the evidence attached.
All right, let's wrap this up with one last critical warning. This really gets to the heart of how an inspector thinks and what they're truly looking for when they show up.
This right here points out a super common mistake. A lot of companies treat Alcohol Plus like it's just a boring PowerPoint they have to click through once a year. But it's not a training concept. It's a set of active, living, breathing controls that have to be built into your day-to-day work. An inspector isn't testing if you remember the training slides, they're testing if your controls are actually working.
So that leaves us with the one question we all need to ask about our own systems. When your reputation is on the line, when an inspector is standing right there, does your data trail actually prove what you claim it proves, or does it just prove that you have a pretty good memory?
If this helped, like and subscribe.